he is. Remember me? So I talked to your wife and daughter about your extracurricular activities. Yeah, it didn't say in your chart that you were a child molester. Yeah. Yeah, they told me about your bathroom visits and your massages, you piece of shit. I know men like you. Men you trust. Men you look up to. First it's a kiss on the head. Then it's the lips. A friendly massage becomes a hand under your shirt, and then fingers inside you, and it's all our little secret, all because you love us so fucking much. So this is how this is gonna work. You are never going to touch your daughter again. You are never going to look at her or even think about her inappropriately, or Officer Ahmad out there is going to arrest you. And the only rape in your future will be the one you get in prison, you sleazy fat fuck. Blink twice if you agree to this. Once if you want me to let you die. I've already lost 2 patients today. One more's not gonna make a difference.
Hello, all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
Today we are covering The Pitt, Season 1, Episode 7, titled 1 p.m. Please note this is a spoiler-filled podcast, so you haven't watched the episode yet and don't want to be spoiled, no big deal. Come back and check us out after you've finished watching. Episode 7 was written by Valerie Chu and directed by Silver Tree. Mandy, what is this one about?
Samara pushes back against Robbie after treating an influencer with odd symptoms, and Santos handles a patient accused of assault.
All right, so instead of doing first impressions, because we end up repeating ourselves at the end for final thought. So I thought we would just do yay or nay. What, did you like it or did you not like it? And favorite episode of the series thus far, I give it 5 Whitaker sandwich crumbs out of 5.
I loved this episode. I agree with you 100% that this was the best episode so far of a really good series. Bodily, it was the most difficult one to watch.
Yes.
For a variety of reasons. It was very, very tough to watch, but very powerful. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Awesome.
I don't know if enjoyed is the right word. I thoroughly appreciated the artistry that went into it, the writing, the performances, all of it was just incredible and spot on.
So let's dive right into the meat of the episode. We start again where we left off, but I want to start the episode by talking about Robbie because his PTSD, I called it his mental armor, is starting to break. I genuinely don't know how much longer he's going to be able to keep his emotions that he obviously continues to shove down and not explode. So I made note of all the points where he was basically a dick. So first, snapping at Whitaker for leaving the crumbs on his workstation. I could see having a beef with people eating at the desks like that, but he was a bit heavy-handed there. Being an absolute dick to Mohan for following her instincts with the patient. And then going after Dr. Collins on how she handled that. And then his behavior, again, like I said, with Collins, I'm glad she pointed it out. And she said something that I was thinking is you can't even be honest with yourself. And his response to her was absolutely hateful and spiteful.
Mm-hmm.
We see during the ECMO procedure, which was a very badass procedure, and I looked it up, and it's called an extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. I thought that was cool to see in action, but I bring that up because we get a flashback for Robbie where Adamson was apparently on that machine. I think Dana said was it
12 days.
12 days. and a young girl needed it. And so Robbie had to make the choice to take him off the machine, knowing it would be probably be the end of him, to save another life, or keep him on it, though the end result would have been the same, I believe. It wouldn't have
Yeah.
changed the outcome.
I think you were right. I think it was 16 days that he was on it, and it was the 12-year-old girl that they were trying
That
to
needed
save.
it. Yeah.
But I want to say that I think that he actually, I noticed that he was starting to lose it, like the very first scene of the episode when he was dealing with Gloria.
Well, yeah,
And
but I feel like I didn't count that, because any conversation I have with her would have with her, I'd be an absolute ass. So I didn't count that one. I counted that, but you're right. You're completely right.
yeah, I just happened to notice that his language is getting a lot more blue
Yeah,
in that
Noah Wiley
scene.
is
Like,
dropping the F-bombs.
yeah, the first few episodes, like he was more professional with her and dealing with her. And he is now getting to the point where even Gloria was like, I'm gonna check you later. I'm gonna go on back wherever I came from. I'm just gonna let you deal with all this. I can see this instead of continuing to push and threaten his job, she's like, I'm out of here.
It's really telling the way that they've done this gradual change. And I don't ever advocate for someone being an asshole, but I do think that Noah Wiley as Dr. Robbie and the writers and the directors are doing a phenomenal job of showing how, when you are so overwhelmed with so much, and then you've got we all have our own personal traumas.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, like you said earlier on in the series, he's not had time to work through that.
Mm-mm.
So it's going to come to, it's be like a volcano. It's going to erupt. So I'm very interested to see in the next several episodes how he spirals, or is he able to find a way to work through it? I don't know. I don't know how. I'm very curious to see what happens there. There's a lot of other insane stuff in this episode that I thought we'd spend most of our time on. I just wanted to bring up how it's very obvious he's going down quick.
Yeah, that was kind of the pulse, the undertone, maybe like the
Yeah.
simmering pot underneath everything else that was going on during this episode. And I watched TV Line episode that we are interview with Noah Wiley that we talked about. And one of the things he said there was, Robbie should have taken the day off. And he chose not to. I know we got a lot to discuss, but I think that it's very telling, and I think it's kind of stereotypical of men and women and their ways of dealing with things. Mental health for men and women is often experienced very differently, and not all men, but a lot of men, that is just how they cope. They just keep shoving it down, because to take a day off would have been admitting a weakness that is more difficult, in my opinion, for most men than it is for women. And then the dichotomy between that and how Collins was handling her own issues, we're going to get into later. That's very interesting. I want us to talk about that later on once we get to that point.
We're working our way there. It's going to be the final big point of the episode, and I chose that because the episode ended that way. So I just thought do that part last. But the next major point that I have, there's so much darkness in this episode. I really wanted to highlight what I thought was the top shining moment. That was Dr. Langdon and Dr. King. Dr. Langdon is really starting to grow on me, and I loved that pairing of them with the autistic patient. The way he observed King's interactions with the patient, I don't know if if you watched his face as she's dealing with this young man with the ankle injury, and the look of almost like a light bulb went off, like this aha moment, and how his face, great acting by this actor, how his face just subtly changed to like this look of admiration and understanding, if that makes sense. It just was so well done. But I love that he admitted to her how impressed he is with her and what a great job that she's doing, and how he lifted her up. And I feel like she skirted around when he was talking about, she was saying, well, my sister is on the spectrum. Felt like she wanted to say, I am on the spectrum, but she didn't. I don't think she felt comfortable for whatever reason saying that to him. So I feel like that story was more than just him learning how to deal with somebody that's autistic, but I also think it's her slowly realizing she is good at what she does. She is capable. If she is on the spectrum, and I still believe that she is, that there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think that if this character turned out not to be, or, and they may just not address it, but I think that the choices she's making as an actress, that whether it's in the script or just her, we don't know yet, because this show, they're so good about planting these little Easter eggs that may or may not lead to anything. I definitely think that you're supposed to have that impression of her. And that's part of why she was able, because it seems as if she has a lot of the same trigger points that that young man did. And that's one of the reasons. I know she has her sister, but I also think that, we've seen where she has to leave situations and go outside and do her comfort rituals to get herself from spiraling and go back in. And, that's the thing about neurodivergence. It's a huge spectrum. And there are certain behaviors that are typical of the majority of people on that spectrum, but they're experienced to lesser and worse degrees, and some have these and some don't. So obviously she is at a different place with her neurodivergence, if that is indeed what it is, than this young man was. But she was able to understand. I thought that was so awesome. It was just in a really packed episode, watching her not only realize that Langdon had a patient who was on the spectrum, but that he was completely discounting that as having anything to do with how the care that they give him should proceed. And her not arguing, but just quietly going in there and doing the things that she probably knows from experience would help her in that situation. Turning the light off, shutting the door so that some of the stimulation from the outside noise would be gone, asking him how he felt like this was impacting him, like what his biggest concern was in that moment, giving him some agency to talk about what was going on in his head, applying logic to the situation, helping him understand, that she was trying to help him to achieve the goals that he wanted to get back to. It was just brilliant. It was great writing. The show is just so well researched. And her face, like, there's so many actors in here that a lot of this dialogue is just, to most of us who are on the outside, just medical jargon that goes by so quickly that you only grasp very minimal amounts of it, and you just have to put it in context. But the humanity in this show is in the choices that these actors are making, and just the quiet moments and their faces. And she just has this she just makes these choices where you can just see this doctor trying so hard to be effective in what has to be an extremely uncomfortable, overstimulating environment for her. And she's doing 90% of that with her face, not her dialogue. I just think in her body language. I just think it's amazing. She's doing such a great job. And I really, really enjoyed that.
I agree.
I'm glad Langdon took a beat and came back and saw where she was effective when he was not. And as somebody who's supposed to be giving these residents feedback, lifting her up and letting her know that that is exactly what good doctors do.
Yeah, and that's where you were talking about subtle face movements. That's what I was saying with him when he was sitting there watching her before.
Right.
They even had that conversation about how he was impressed with her. It was fun to watch him realize, A, this girl is special and good at what she does, but B, okay, but there are ways to handle certain patients and that he needs to be more aware. So I really like that.
Yeah, me too.
All right, we're going to move into the first big moment of the show with Santos. So first up, the thing I want to say is we were way off on our predictions about that person going through, transition or whatever. I did not expect that was where we were going to go. And I liked the way the facts slowly unfolded. And we find out that the mom was giving hormones to her husband to try to kill his libido because he's abusing their daughter.
Yeah, I first of all, he's forever man tits now.
I knew you were going to do that, and
Fuck that guy.
Totally fine with it.
I want to give props to that actor because, as I have never mentioned before, I'm sure in 1,000 times since you've known me, I wanted to be an actor when I was a kid. And of course, I never got very far with it. But I always wondered like what would happen if you were up for a role that was so very antithetical to your morals. Like how do you handle that? And I've always had a lot of respect for people that can do that, especially for something like that, which for me personally and a lot of women is just frankly very, very triggering. He did that scene where he's immobile at the end. Every bit of the acting and the emoting that is going on is with his face. And you watch him go through a series of emotions from convivial kind of, oh, here's that nice doctor, to realizing, oh shit, she knows. And for just a beat there, the mask dropped.
You saw straight up fear in that man's eyes.
You did. But before that, between the jovial, I'm just a dad, and the fear, there were just a couple of seconds of cunning. What does she know about me? And that's the thing about predators like that. Their victims are often the only people that see when the mask drops and they see whatever is inside of them that makes them the way that they are. And I thought kudos for that actor because she was laying into him. And to watch that progression from, oh, hey, I'm just a dad, to, oh my God, this woman might kill me. It was great acting. I'm Team Santos for the rest of my life, man. There's nothing that woman could do personally for me in the rest of the series that would make me hate her. I love seeing that moment, which I thought a lot throughout this, that she had some kind of secret core that she was protecting. And we get the hint here, the very large hint, that it had something to do with some kind of sexual assault and grooming in her past. And I love the frustration that she experienced going to the authorities, the so-called authorities, and basically having nothing happen.
Talk more about what led up to that point, because it wasn't just what a typical Santos overreacting. She didn't, her first instinct wasn't to go in and do what she did. She
tried.
She did, and I want to applaud her on that. So, she first tries to talk to Kiara and Dr. Robbie about her concerns. Kiara, I feel, was very understanding of her concerns, but that shone some light on, and I'm scared now, given the cuts that were just made in our federal government agencies. There's only so much that a social worker can do because they too have to follow Wiki Fingers the law. And I think I was so disappointed in Robbie's response, but this is a real life situation, and quote unquote, the system has things in place that unfortunately allow this to keep happening. And it's evident Santos has been a victim of that system. And she's like, this isn't going to work. The one thing I don't think she should have done, I understand why she did it, but she should not have talked to a minor confronting the daughter. I don't think that was the right thing to do ethically. I think it left the girl more confused and stressed out, maybe. Such a young age having something like that happen. And, here lays her dad, looks like he's got tubes coming out, and she's concerned because that's her dad and she loves her dad. And the way that he's abusing that love was disgusting. Anyway, absolutely disgusting. But to my point, I don't think confronting the daughter was the right thing to do. I understand that she did it. I was glad that she did it. But from an ethical standpoint, I don't think that was the right way to go. She saw that herself in that girl and made the choice to do what she did next, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think in a real world scenario, with all the time and all of the training of how to handle something like that, obviously there are a lot of reasons that that is not the optimal approach. And probably, I'm not even sure about the legality of it, quite honestly. But I think the way that we are giving Robbie grace for the fact that he is under an immense amount of pressure in an environment where he's having to make split second decisions while dealing with trauma, I'll give this character the same grace because this was not a perfect scenario where she had ample time to make the right choice.
I'm looking at it from more of a legality ethics situation. You don't talk to minors without a parent present. especially about something like this. That's all I'm saying. I'm Team Santos here. I think you think I don't know.
No, no, I don't think. First of all, it's all scripted. So I don't think they made the choices they made. We're just kind of going over our viewpoint of that. And that's again one of the things that's great about this show is that they do show a lot of moments in this ER where everything is so fast paced that there is the real perfect way that everything should be handled, but under these circumstances, that is often just you can use your ethics as a guideline, but everything is a sliding scale and everything is moving fast. So what do you do in the moment? And just as you were, talking about, you were looking at it from a legal standpoint for a lot of reasons. There's no way that I could really watch this storyline and not project my own experiences and biases on it. And so predominantly what I felt, as you said, she did not start out trying to do this, to go to that minor, to do that.
She tried to do the right thing, the right way.
And she increasingly was getting more and more desperate because she, starting an episode or two ago, had started to notice something odd. Her gut was telling her there's something odd here. And then once she clocked what the oddness was, once she talked to the mother, who clearly this mother, while concerned and upset, she, rather than going to an authority and taking her daughter out of that situation and leaving that man, she's putting progesterone in his coffee. God love that mom. Clearly you could see from the choices that they were making in the dialogue and the actresses' choices, she clearly loves her daughter. This is something that I find absolutely infuriating about people who talk about the danger to our children. It's one of the reasons I have so little patience with conspiracy theorists talking about rogue bands of illegal immigrants stealing our children. I am telling you, I am begging anyone out there that is listening to this, especially if you have children, the danger to your children from gangs from Guatemala stealing them and selling them into slavery is absolutely minuscule. I'm not saying stranger abduction doesn't happen. It does, but statistically, it is very, 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 very rare. Molestation and physical assault on especially women, but boys and men too, is incredibly common. Incredibly common. And the overwhelming majority of the time, it is someone you know. It is your dad, it's your uncle, it's your pastor, it's your scout leader, it's your teacher. And I found that mother infuriating because, in my opinion, one of the biggest problems with this culture is that we don't want to look at hard things if that means that it's going to impact our life in some way, especially this situation. So I find that was very likely, even though it seems ridiculous that her answer was to put progesterone in his coffee, I find that is more likely than her packing up, taking her kid to a different place and calling the cops on him. Because in my experience, most people, while you may love your relative very, very much, if it means that you have to burn your whole world down to protect that child the way that they should be protected, your psyche will do anything to try to keep you from accepting that the person that you may have loved, married, whoever, this person that you cared about and trusted is a monster. Like, can be all of these wonderful things, took you to Paris for your honeymoon, whatever, and he is still a threat and a danger to your child. So I found it probably typical that instead of doing the right thing and going and taking this child out of the situation, she was trying to protect both her family image and her child at the same time.
I agree with you. I don't think putting progesterone in his coffee or whatever to try to kill his libido so he doesn't want to touch his daughter, it was not at all the right way to handle it, that she should have bailed. What I hope is what this show does so well is that we're going to get more information on her family life. And there's usually a reason, whether we think it's valid or not, there's usually a reason that they choose to stay or feel like they have no other option than to stay. I'm curious if there's more information that we get that gives more explanation as to why she chose that route. I hope we get more on that.
We could get it, but because again, the real world, it's ethics are a guideline, but the real world is messy. And I don't even think it really needs anything other than just they're a family unit, because as much as it infuriates me, because I'm looking at it from the standpoint of a child that should have been protected and that child was not. It's funny, I don't want to get on another show, but there was a Law and Order episode this week that was about a similar situation. And it was an abused woman who didn't protect her daughter. And the reality is, a lot of times these people, I don't remember what the statistics are, but statistically, if you have been like the mother in this Law and Order episode this week, the SVU episode, she had been a sexually abused child herself. And that was part of, she took that mindset with her into her marriage. And then she was also experiencing physical abuse in her marriage. So she ended up letting her daughter get killed because she didn't have the strength to make, maybe she had been groomed, what have you. I know that this mother, in a real world scenario, she may have been thinking, I cannot protect, to do this on my own. My daughter might not thank me for it. She might be furious. It might be embarrassing for it's hard. So part of my soul has some empathy for this mother, but by and large, again, if there's anybody out there that's hearing this and you suspect this, I would urge you to move past that psychological discomfort in any way that you possibly can, because your primary as a parent is to protect your child. Predators don't stop being predators because you put progesterone in their coffee. They're going to continue in their sickness. You need to make the best choice for your child. That's just primarily how I feel about it.
I 100% agree with you and echo that message. Get your kid, get out of there, protect them at all costs. I'm just curious if there's more to the story we haven't gotten yet.
Yeah, quite honestly, I don't know that I have the emotional bandwidth to go back on that one again.
Here's what I wrote. I always watch the episode once just to watch and enjoy, and then I watch a couple more times. And I tried really hard to figure out how I wanted to say this, but I just say this. So here's what I wrote. I think this whole thing falls way into a gray category because what she said to that man was not at all ethical, but I am, and in bold capital letters, completely on board with how she told that motherfucker what's up. Normally, we get trickles of info on the doctor's backstories, but they opened the floodgates on this one, and the incredible acting done by Issa Briones. Don't fuck with me. Don't fuck with your daughter. Oh, and I expect a great patient satisfaction score. Get well soon. Slow clap.
Yeah.
That was incredible. And I do see Santos in a whole new light, man. We're going to get more into the article Mandy mentioned. We're going to talk some more about this, the actress's feelings on the whole thing later. I just wanted to share how I felt about her telling that disgusting pig what's up. I thought it was great.
Someone on the Pitt fan page, shout out, a Facebook group this week, said something about, I don't think she did the correct thing ethically, but I can just say, and I think you'll agree with this too, as a victim of sexual abuse in the past, she was in that moment every protector that I wish I had had in that moment. Yep. And even though, like you pointed out, I think you're right about going and approaching the daughter. It was doomed to fail, but she was desperate.
Yeah.
You know what I felt when she was talking to that daughter? I felt like what the actress, and I may be projecting, but I felt like in my head that she was looking at that girl, but she was seeing a younger version of herself.
She was having a conversation she wished somebody would have had with her.
Exactly.
100%.
But I also think that a lot of times, like when we talk about with our kids and parenting, there are things that we wish we could tell them now, but because they don't have the life experience, they're not going to hear it.
Mm-mm.
And she's still a very young woman herself. So you and I recognize that, oh, that's just going to blow up in your face. But I think she was just desperate.
I agree.
And everybody had failed this girl to this point. So,
yep. I wish she had turned around and opened up her scrubs and had a big S there for Superwoman story arc. And I think not only did she get to hopefully help that young girl, but I think she got a chance to help herself and say what she didn't get the chance to or has not been able to say for however long she's been carrying this on.
Yep.
I'm excited to see where she goes next with that one.
I want to say one more thing though, one of the things that I didn't see in the notes is that they have teased that they are going to explore more of the home life of these guys at some point towards the end of the season, and that there are going to be a lot of surprises about what is actually going on outside of the show. So I'm very curious to get to that point.
Heck
I want
yeah.
to see Santos's life outside of this hospital. I want to see all their lives outside this hospital.
So much to look forward to. All right. Well, if you're done talking about that very intense moment, I'd like to move on to my final main point of Collins. Is that cool?
No, I think that's more than enough.
All right. So first major point with Collins, brilliant done acting in this episode. The way she took that mother aside and forced her to take a hard look at the reality. Not, yes, your daughter's pregnant, you don't want her to have an abortion, but the true reality of the situation. And she advocated for her patient and showed the mom, this is not the same situation you were faced with. Your feelings or how you were forced to deal with it, this is not
relevant.
And you need to listen to what your child is telling you, because if you don't, not only you risk losing your child forever. And I think that was eye-opening for the mom. And I'm glad that the mom, despite her own feelings, accepted her daughter's wishes and allowed her daughter to make that choice. I loved that scene. And when we got to the end, where right after that, basically, she finds out she's lost the baby, I commend her name. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her last name right. I'm saying it. Is it Ifakor?
I think so.
She did so incredible, because I'm, trying to imagine being pregnant, having had at least one miscarriage before that we know of, standing there, leaving, like she told Robbie, leaving her baggage at the door and talking to this woman about allowing her child to have the abortion she wants when she's trying so hard to have this baby. It was so powerful seeing her do her job despite what's going on in her own personal life. But then for her, like you said, I overlooked the twinges of pain last week because I didn't want to believe she was not going to be able to have this baby. But that final scene of her seeing the proof of what she'd been fearing was powerful. And Tracy, the way she expressed her grief and anger at the same time, was just chef's kiss. She put on a class in acting there, and it broke my heart.
Yeah, that was really, really tough to watch. I read something this week that about women, how they handle emotional trauma versus men. And I think that the dichotomy between the two of how Collins is continuing, like you could tell throughout, it's been building up in the background this whole time that she definitely had worries that this pregnancy was going to end in a miscarriage, the same way the other one did. But she's continuing to be calm and kind and advocate for compassion with her staff, whereas Robbie is getting more and more and more frustrated and angry. I'm curious if they're going to explore that more, about what the difference is in men's and women's mental health. And I don't know the right way to say this without it sounding like I'm telling men you just need to do better, because that is absolutely the opposite of what I'm trying to say. I just have found in real life that it is pretty typical that women talk about we have tribe, we have community, we talk about our feelings, and not all of us, but in general, we have at least one or two trusted people that we go to with these things. And I think that's part of what makes us more able to take our traumas and live around them. Whereas with men, and I think, and this is where I feel really bad for them, I feel like society has told them forever,
you don't show emotion.
Right. You're not a strong man if you experience your feelings.
Yep.
And you know what? I'm going to tie this to Santos, and I'm going to honestly tie it a little bit to myself, because that's kind of, for a long time in my life, how I dealt with it. And I think that's how Santos does too, is she shoves it all down and it comes out in these little angry, snarky, mean bursts. And Robbie, he should have taken the day off. Everybody told him he should have taken the day off, but he couldn't even do that, because that would be admitting that this trauma had some kind of power over him. And I think that men don't hate anything more than they hate feeling like they are powerless.
Yeah.
Largely because society tells them you're not a man if you're not in control of every single situation in your life. So it just makes it harder for them in general to deal with these things in a healthy way. And so I don't want to slight men at all when I say this, because I do think that that is a burden that they carry through our world. But what badasses women are. That was horrible and awful and hard to watch. But it also just reminded me so much about how we just deal with our shit every day and move on. I've known women, and I bet you have too, waiting tables, who have had a miscarriage in the middle of their shift.
And they go right back to work.
I've known women in other professions, honestly, that have done that. But I thought a lot about a lot of this reminds me of our server days, because of I know it's much lower stakes, but just the way that everything is so hectic and you just don't have time. I remember having a complete, I was in the middle of a really bad depression and having just the bottom drop out psychologically on me when I was like 20, 21, and wait tables, and you just don't have time for it. You got to get up, suck it up, and move on. And this woman is a doctor. She's got lives on the stake on the line that she has to get over her whatever she's got going on and jump back in. But even in like other professions where it's like, I've got other kids at home, I got to pay the bills, I got light bill coming due, I don't have time for a miscarriage. And it just reminded me again of how amazing we are. I just don't think we get enough credit for that. That is predominantly what I was feeling, other than just the grief of what she was having to deal with. And I just thought that Tracy Evacourt did such a great job portraying that throughout the whole episode, not just the miscarriage itself.
Everything.
Yeah, just the building dread. I just thought, this may be overstating things, but just like there's a sadness in her eyes that's there. Like, you know what I mean? Like in the way that there is a trauma and a grief in Robbie's eyes, no matter what he's dealing with, there is like a calm sadness in hers, is the only way that I can explain it, that she's always known it could lead to this, but she was still so devastated to see the proof of it.
Yeah.
It was tough, but beautiful, beautiful acting.
All right. Well, that's all I have on the main points of the episode. Is there anything else you want to add before we move into chart notes? Because I know we got a lot of show news to talk about too. So,
no, I do just want to say though that I am holding out hope against hope still, and maybe this is silly, that because there are women that have sometimes even heavy spotting in the early parts of the pregnancy.
It doesn't mean that the baby's gone.
Right. I'm going to just try to continue to have some hope. It's going to turn out that, and honestly, I don't know if that's fair, because to real women who have been through this in the real world, but just as a fan of this show and of Dr. Collins, and just want to see her get a win.
I want that woman to get that baby.
Yes, I really hope that this turns out to be a scare, but not a miscarriage. So we'll see. We'll just have to see.
Yeah. Well, moving on to something a little bit lighter. Sweet Myrna. In my chart notes, trying to get a pussycat, also known as Whitaker, to unlock her and Dana again with the save. Don't be a pussycat. Oh!
That is now part of my lexicon forever. Don't be a pussycat. I love her so much. I need Myrna backstory.
Well, Mandy pointed out on the Pitt fan page the lady who plays Myrna is a fan of the fan page. And I reached out to her and just let her know, no pressure. So if you're listening, we would love to have you on the podcast for a brief interview just to hear what your thoughts are on Sweet Myrna and what it was like being on the show. So the invitation stands. You are welcome here and we would love to have you. So maybe we can have that happen one day.
Myrna, you are a queen.
You are a queen. I need them to put her in a tiara.
Yes.
Like Amy Farrah Fowler when she's mad at Sheldon, but Sheldon gives her a tiara and her whole world changes.
Maybe that'll calm her down. I need to know why Myrna's in cuffs. I need to know, is she a prisoner or do you think she's just a psych patient maybe?
I think we've answered that question. I think just Myrna being Myrna's going to Myrna means Myrna needs to be in handcuffs.
Oh, I love her so much. She's great.
She brings such a little bright little ray of sunshine to the show.
I'm going to tell a very brief story about when I used to volunteer in the nursing home and I did a bingo game forever. And all of these women just love tchotchkes and little cute things to try to make their room look more like a room, like a space that they would enjoy living in. So I would go to Dollar Tree every week and I would get spend $20 and get 20 little things as prizes and bring them every week. And they loved, before we would start the game, they would all sit and talk about what they wanted. And there was one lady in my bingo gal group, Miss Maddie, and she was the meanest woman I have ever met in my life. Everybody else in the group hated her. She hated them. We needed new bingo cards forever. After she passed, it turned out that she had a fresh, brand new, beautiful, expensive set of bingo cards that a church had given her. And she had heard us talk for months about trying to come up with the money to purchase it. And she never mentioned that she has this pristine back. Anyway, her arch enemy was my friend Miss Weaver, who was the complete opposite. Beautiful, put together, always had her wig right, her makeup done. She was there because she was diabetic and she was a larger lady and her only family was her sister who was dying of cancer. So she couldn't help her to get into and out of the shower. But Mrs. Weaver was still very much together, and with it, she would go and deliver the mail to everybody and try to do little chores around there to help out. So two completely opposite people, and they hated each other. Anyway, before this one video or this one bingo game, I had brought this little cardinal, resin statuette. It was two little cardinals on a tree lot. And Miss Maddie said, "Oh, I'm going to get that bird." And Miss Weaver, the sweetest, genteel, put together lady, turned to her and goes, "Oh, I'll give you a bird." And then just flipped her the big one.
Oh, that's amazing.
One of the funniest moments of my life.
Next chart note, I really liked the way the friends of the OD kids showed up for the parents, and Dana gave Robbie some really good advice, and Robbie turns around and gives it to the parents and says, that's how we get through, is leaning on friends and family. And the look on his face, I don't know if you noticed, it was subtle, but well done, Noah Wiley. He realized, light bulb moment, he's not taking the advice he just gave.
I missed that.
Go back and watch it. It's subtle.
What I predominantly not thought was that's awesome that he's taking and repeating verbatim what Dana said, because it just was another one of those moments where it reiterated how much that whole place depends on her. Dana is quietly in the background, in her way, as important as Robbie or any of the other doctors on staff. So I loved that he took that and passed that on, but I didn't notice that he had a little moment where he thought, "Hey, wait a minute, maybe I should take my own advice."
Go back and watch it and
I will.
Tell me if I'm crazy or if it was brief. It was subtle, but I definitely feel like it was there.
I do want to, before we move on that point, that I want to say something I really thought about, and I didn't put that together with the Collins thing, but that's another good point about women maybe being able to handle emotions a little bit different. Did you notice not just this episode, but all the time when Robbie is getting more and more pissy, Dana is a lot of time in the background with this little half smile and shaking her head you should have stayed home today.
Yeah.
And she doesn't let him get to her. She doesn't let it affect her mood. She doesn't let it affect her professionalism. She kind of seems to quietly find it oh, a mom with a kid, almost like she can see this coming. It's like she knows he's going to be fine. He's just going to have to learn this lesson the hard way.
Yeah. I've seen her in the background a few times, but I'll pay more attention to watching for her more. I've seen some of those moments, but there's some that obviously I've missed. Next chart note. I'm concerned Santos is projecting some things that she's dealt with onto Dr. Langdon.
I'm not
That
sure about that, Becky.
the way she asked Dr. King about, did she notice anything weird about his behavior? And LOL at King talking about his sweating that could be genetic. That didn't make any sense to me, other than is she seeing something in him that is she, I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand it.
Well, so I was 100% on board with that line of thinking, and even thinking, because again, I still believe that her and Garcia have some kind of connection outside the hospital, that she was possibly a spy for, like, maybe Garcia's got some beef with Langdon and she was just trying to find something on him because he embarrassed her, or because of whatever secret beef they had. Again, this show does such a great job of making you try to go down rabbit holes that may or may not lead anywhere. But, and this is a little bit of a cheat, like I watched the previews for the next episode, and in that I started to get the feeling, because they explored, they're going to obviously explore this a little bit more. Does Langdon have a drug problem? Does she suspect that he is? Are we going to be looking at this whole thing between them when the vial wouldn't open? And, are there other instances where I'm going to go back and look, and there's going to be evidence that maybe Langdon is pocketing drugs?
If he's pocketing the stuff that you use to make your heart or make a seizure stop, I don't buy it. If he's pocketing like opioids or whatever, I could see that being a possibility. But the vial of medicine that she had is not something a drug user would abuse.
I don't know anything about drugs, period. But I do notice that the character is very go, 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 go. And I am wondering if that is where they're going with this, is that she has a suspicion that he is. My own grandmother was a county health nurse, and she died in her early 50s because she had been a nurse in World War II. And a fun fact, our government gave their staff meth during World War II to help them keep going during, is basically meth, to help them keep going during very difficult times. And she developed a bit of a pill problem and drug problem, and she was the county health nurse, but she was also taking drugs. So, I don't know. It was just a thought I had. Like I said, it didn't occur to me. I was on board with your thoughts about it until I saw the preview for next week. And then I started thinking,
Well, I mean, it's a possibility. There's got to be something. He can't be perfect because everybody's got their flaws. So, I mean, maybe that's it. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see.
Next chart note, Earl kicking it with Hateful Patient Guy still, and telling Hateful Patient Guy, you just got bumped for rats. I loved it. I love Earl. Earl and Myrna. Hashtag Merle. I just made their relationship name.
That's your couple name, Myrna. You need to let the actor that plays Earl know that. You guys can come on as a duo.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I'm a little worried for Earl sitting next to that asshole. Like, I'm afraid he better not touch Earl. You better leave. Just let Earl guide you. Earl knows what he's doing in that waiting room.
Yeah, I think Earl's going to teach him the ways of the emergency room. I think by the end, that dude is going to be in a hospital gown with his medicine bag that's rolling like he's Jedi Knight. He's going
in
to
a sandwich in the other hand.
Yes, but not egg salad, because Earl's going to teach him.
But maybe egg salad is like his lightsaber. You know how all the Jedis have their own different lightsaber.
There you go.
Maybe his lightsaber is the egg salad sandwich.
Y'all heard it here first. That would be funny. Good call with Dr. Mohan and Mandy, the influencer. I am really liking seeing her work towards finding a balance. I wanted to punch Robbie for being such a dick, and I'm glad that Collins is there and I'm glad that Collins is strong enough to take the heat from Robbie when he has his little because he straight up had a temper tantrum that Mohan went over his head, and that Collins approved it and nobody told him about it. He threw his little Tonka trunk and said stupid, stupid things. But I'm glad that it happened, and I'm glad that Mohan was able to say, here's the problem to Robbie, and him just, he still was a dick about it, but I'm glad that he's seeing she's right. And I'm glad that Collins is like, you're all over her and you're killing her confidence. So hopefully that gets Robbie to step back. It's still important to manage your time, but she's doing good things with the time that she's taking. So chill the F out and let Mohan be Mohan.
Yeah, I thought like what an awesome thing for that. I felt so sad for that girl. She said she doesn't have friends, she only has followers. And I think that is, they just talk about so many relevant things here. And I think that that is the reality with a lot of our young people today, is that they don't have a big circle of real world friends. There's just this obsession, especially with people who want to make it in social media, about getting more and more and more followers, and maybe even doing stupid stuff that's detrimental to your health to make that happen. I thought it was funny when she told her to watch her 11s, Javati, when she was, because I have a big crevice right there where I keep my head furrowed all the time. So I did actually think that was great advice. I wish somebody told me that at 20. But another thing I thought was, I loved that was a scene almost completely made up of 3 different women from the Indian subcontinent. I think Javati's
Yeah.
Persian. I think Mohan and Nandi are probably Indian. And I just thought that you don't see that a lot on TV. I mean, there was no special reason for it to be 3 different women from that general area, but it was, and that's like life. And I just like to see them getting their shot. I don't know. I just like seeing the representation.
That was cool. I didn't piece that together, but you're right. That's a very cool thing. My final chart note is the moment between Mr. Wallace and Minu, the Nepali patient, his vow to help her find the person who pushed her, and her giving him what was obviously a very important symbol for her, was just beautiful. And it was just human kindness at its finest. And in a world, the world we're living in today, where just genuine kindness is hard to find. I just wanted to highlight that moment because it genuinely made me tear up a little bit.
In an episode that was so laden with hard things, that was just such a really beautiful moment. Like that they didn't have to speak the same language to have a very powerful emotional connection to each other because of this event that they were both involved in. I loved it. It was a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
I felt the love connection made there. I'm just saying.
So much romance could happen on this show.
Yeah, they need to get us involved.
They need to hire me as an actress on the show.
You just go around making love connections and then.
No, I just go around and be the one that Dr. Robbie falls in love with.
Okay.
How did you not see that coming?
You're right. I walked right into that one.
What could my show name be? What would my actress name be?
Oh, I don't know.
Chandra. We could be Shrabi.
I think it would be Scheherazade.
So you just want my name to be Scheherazade.
Well, me and your grandma. Oh no, it was your mom.
That was my
mom. Doris.
Grandma saved me. I am now Rebecca today. So thanks, Gran. I miss you.
Doris, I wanted to name my daughter Esme, and no one let me do it either. So this is yet another thing that you and I have in common. We've been stifled by people with no imagination our whole lives.
Bless your heart.
I'm going to tell you what, Ava wishes that her name was Esme now. She's a weirdo too.
I would take Esme over Scheherazade, but I can't help but think of Esme makes me think of Renesmee, which makes me think of Twilight. So
that's Twilight.
That's how I'll put that together. All right, final thoughts. I just simply wrote, by far the most dramatic episode of the season. A few heartwarming moments to some sincerely dark ones. This one really packed a punch. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, that's my feelings too, pretty much. I mean, it was very, very difficult. It was by far the most difficult to watch, but I wanted to stand up and clap several times throughout the episode at how well they were telling some very difficult storylines. You know, one of the things that we really didn't discuss is that the mom and daughter that were coming in for the abortion were from Tennessee.
Oh, I did notice that.
That reveal there at the end.
I thought about making a
Perfect.
note of that, but I also didn't want to go off on a tangent and on the state of Tennessee right now, so I didn't.
Yeah, but perfect. And honestly, as I think we mentioned last week, there's a doctor, the state of Louisiana is trying to prosecute for providing an abortifacient. Now, I think in that situation, she mailed it, but I did see that the state of New York this week told them to kick rocks. They can forget it, that they knew that this was going to happen. They saw it coming, and they've built up tons of protections around their doctors to keep them from prosecution in situations like that. So Louisiana can go on and just keep worrying about getting the 10 Commandments put in their schools and leave their doctors alone. So
Yes.
that was a little bit of a bright news. But yes, I thought that was another little excellent detail that they put in there, that she came from one of these states down here where there is literally no exception.
Or we're not we, but our government is full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. All right, so before we move into feedback, there is some show news. The Pitt fan page, we told y'all last week, finds some of the most incredible articles and interviews and whatnot about the show. I did see Noah Wiley on Live with Kelly and Mark. I keep that on in the background during the day while I'm working. And one thing he said that I thought was really cool is Kelly mentioned how the show ER back in the day, how it really brought emergency room doctors, and Noah Wiley was talking about how it really, the applicants for trying to match with an ER residency was huge. And then Noah Wiley said that when the pandemic hit, obviously that spiraled. So part of what they're hoping with this show is to get more people reinterested in emergency medicine. That was
Wow.
cool. And he also had on a pair of socks with his dog and his daughter's face on them, and he highlighted them on TV. So if you need another reason to love Noah Wiley, there you go.
That's adorable.
Yeah, it was precious. So the TV Insider posted a really great article about this particular episode and some of the team's thoughts. I will post a link in the show notes to the whole article, but there were just 2 points that of the article that we want to share, and I'll start with Noah Wiley's comments on Dr. Collins' story and Tracy Ifikor, the actor. He said, she's a really great actress, and she was extremely brave in that particular sequence, talking about the miscarriage. Wiley, who also serves as an executive producer and writer, tells Insider, miscarriages happen a lot to women, and a lot of times they happen in the workplace, on the job, and a lot of women don't have the option of going home. I know several actresses that have miscarried in their trailers and have gone back to work for another 6 or 7 hours through a shooting day. There's a woman that works on this show who had a very similar experience, and it was one that we felt like we wanted to tell. She's got her life worked out, and having a baby is the missing piece to the life that she wants to build, Wiley notes. And it's a solitary life that she's building, which makes it even sadder. And I thought she did a great job doing it. And I agree.
I didn't want to get too far ahead of your notes here when I brought that up earlier, but I love that he is highlighting that. And I also wonder how triggering that must have been for the lady on the staff that had that situation happen to her. Like, that must be very difficult to relive through this medium, but probably very cathartic too. And I'm just really proud of him for doing it.
Yeah.
Issa Brioni's on Dr. Santos's big moment. She said that one of those beautiful scenes where you start to get pieces about the character's past, and they quote her saying, for Robbie, you get more of an explanation, but everyone else, you're just getting just hints of their past, because in one day, no one would just be like, here's all my trauma. Side note, I think I probably do that to everybody I talk to.
Pretty sure you and I both do.
Yeah, we will vomit it out.
Watch out for standing next to me in line at the grocery store, because by the time you get home, you're going to know my entire life story.
Yeah, but normal people don't do that. So She says that this is the most vulnerable you'll see Santos because she's alone basically with a man who can't speak. And this is her speaking again. This is Issa Brioni speaking. It's that moment of, I have all of this bottled up. I have a wall up, and finally, I have someone I can point all of that anger toward, and all of that frustration and sadness and everything that she doesn't let show to anyone else. You can see that she must have experienced something very similar to this, says Brioni's. Maybe she's not just a cold hearted bitch inside. Maybe there's a reason for her walls, and she does care about something, the right people. She cares about this little girl. She sees this is wrong. She has these demons, and they come out in our most vulnerable moments.
I just really liked those two pieces of the article. I mean, I think those were the two most poignant parts of the episode. So I stole those from the article. But again, we'll post the remainder of it in show notes because the whole thing is worth a great read. So
yeah, I saw another quote that Noah Wiley had in that article where he said, actually, it was the executive producer John Wells points out that traumatic moments are in fragments. You don't remember it as a whole. You remember things, sound, a quick image of something, almost like snapshots or little 5-second movies. And, I hadn't thought about it before, but I think one of the other things that really resonates is that in addition to myriad other cray things, I have post-traumatic stress disorder, and that is dead on. That right there is the motherfucker of that experience. If it's something that you deal with, is that you can sometimes just be going, you don't have to be in a incredibly busy, stressful ER. You could just be walking through Kroger and you smell a certain smell, or you're at the DMV and a bang happens, or whatever your trauma happen that certain things will trigger. You can just for the rest of your life be going through it, and then just bam, 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 these little moments will just suck you back under over and over and over again. So they're knocking it out of the park, man. That's just another way, yeah, that they're getting the details right.
yes, they are. Happy note. We are getting a second season.
Woo!
It has been confirmed. That is all we know for now, but we will keep you posted as we find out more. I'm glad that they're doing that. And these two producers, Gimmel and Wells and Noah Wiley, they did a phenomenal job with ER and knowing when to say when. And so I don't know how long they're going to keep the show going, but I feel good that they're going to, as long as there's a good story to tell, they're going to tell it. But I worry about, shows going on too long, Grey's Anatomy. I'm very excited about this, and I think another season will open up the doors to bring back Abbott because it's gonna got to be hopefully another shift, right? So, and even new characters as we still, move on with the ones that we have. There's so many options. I'm so excited.
Yeah, that was another thing in that article, is that he mentioned that as the season goes on, you're going to start having the night shift come on. So
Yeah.
2, 3, I could see it would take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons before I think they would run out of.
Yeah, I think 5 seasons would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
To go through. We'll see.
I wonder if they'll keep the same conceit about
I
it
hope the
being.
format stays the same.
Yeah.
That's because that to me is what makes this show stand out. Yes, there's some real world stories, some phenomenal acting, but what I like so much about this is the format of it being 1 hour into the shift each time really just makes for more interesting
It keeps the tension.
storytelling. Yeah.
They've earned my trust. They're killing it. They're doing a great job. They're knocking it out of the park. I remember this week when I had some criticism, minor, from the first episode, where I felt like sometimes they were veering too far into melodrama. Man, I don't feel that way at all anymore. I think they're doing an excellent job of pacing now and giving you drips and drabs in between all of the crises that are continuously going on.
Yeah, they're killing it. So we didn't get any feedback on this episode, but we did get some comments from a couple of the previous episodes. So I'm going to read those now. And it's the first one from @KCLO from YouTube wrote about episode 4. hello with the waving
That
hand.
was cute.
Yeah, just wanted to say I enjoy the podcast. I work on the show, and it's honestly been my favorite working experience in the film industry. The production and crew have been so respectful, collaborative, and fun. Really, it's a unicorn of a show, and I completely agree with her on that. I'm also so happy that people like it. It's hard to see the forest from the trees sometimes on set. A joke that we found funny the first time might not seem so funny after 35 different takes or after 35 takes in different directions. Same with the emotional scenes. I'm just ecstatic that it's landing well with the viewers. Episode 4 is one of my favorites so far for a lot of reasons, both technically and story wise. Also, the Kraken's penis is fake with a laugh cry emoji. That I just want you to know at KCLO, you broke my heart on that one.
I guess it answers that though.
I did reach out to this comment and let this person know that we would love for them to come on if they want, if they're open to it, to talk about their time working on the show. No spoilers or anything like that, just a conversation about what it was like. Or if they're not comfortable with that, maybe us sending a Q&A, they fill it out and then we
Oh,
can
yeah.
share it on the podcast. So I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, that they'll do that and we'll get to talk to them about it. All right, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Did you also point out to them that we had a little bit of technical difficulty of understanding where the comments were going on YouTube, but we've worked that out now, and that's why it took us a minute to find those
No, I'm
comments.
glad you said that because I had planned to mention that here.
That's why I'm here, girl.
Yeah, so what she said.
It's all worked out now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it
So,
now.
but we, like how stoked would we have been 2 episodes to know, or 3 episodes
I
ago, to know,
know, right?
to know somebody from the, like, finding out that Myrna was on the Pitt fan page, and this is like made our whole week. So this is
Literally.
great. And she went on to say episode 5, thank you for the nuanced conversation. The war on women is very real. There are many situations where a medical abortion is absolutely necessary, let alone an abortion after a miscarriage for medical reasons as well as psychological. A person who is a rape victim has had their free will taken from them. Are we also going to strip them of their choice, of their free will after their attack? It's been clear that the Republican Party's agenda has never been about the babies. If it was, they would be proponents of social programs to help children.
Amen.
Amen. Free food, free health care, better education for those children. If they wanted to prevent abortion, they would make birth control over the counter. It's a cheap drug that has been well tested for many years. There is no reason it shouldn't be easier to access other than to control women.
Preach.
Mm-hmm. There will never be a world where rich men's mistresses or daughters do not have access to safe medical procedures, but they will make it impossible for everyone else.
I don't know you at KCLO.
But I love you.
Oh, but that was, please come on to the podcast and chat with us. That was brilliant. And
Yep.
thank you for the feedback. Thank you for listening to us, and we appreciate it. And your words are so well thought and said, and we just thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And I want to also give another big thanks to the Pitt fan page. We're going to talk about them a lot. I mean, they just continue to, not only share what we do out there, but they also provide some of the best content for us to use on the podcast and to just enjoy as fans of the show. So please do check them out on Facebook. If you love the show, you will love this Facebook page. If you would like to leave us some feedback, say hi, anything you want to talk about, please email or send us a voice message as an attachment to whatsontonightToo@gmail.com. You can visit our Facebook page where there will be a post for the next episode, and there you can leave feedback in the comment section or send us a message through Facebook Messenger. We can also be found on Instagram as well at What's On Tonight Podcast 2, and that's the number 2 at the end. And my apologies to our Instagram followers. I just realized when we switched from the end of What We Do in the Shadows to covering the Pit, I've been posting all of our episodes to my personal page, thinking it was going to our podcast page. I have figured that out too. This was a week of me understanding the world of technology. So all episodes from this point on will be posted to the correct Instagram page. So again, that's at What's On Tonight Podcast 2. We would greatly appreciate it if you would leave a review, give us a comment like the amazing comments we got above. Just give us a like and or share on your podcast listening app of choice. Those things go a long way to get people listening to us. And again, this is a labor of love for us. So we enjoy what we do, and we want anyone who is a fan of this show to come on and listen and hopefully enjoy our takes on the show.
Awesome.
Let's head over to the ambulance bay for a smoke break with Dana, and we can talk podcast recommendations, good TV, movies, or anything else we'd like to share. Mandy, what do you got?
I actually have a podcast recommendation this week. That's what I was looking for. Yes.
Y'all write this down. This is the first time that's ever happened.
It's called My Victorian Nightmare.
And of course it is.
Exactly. I don't know how much overlap there is with our audience here and people who find other morbid things fascinating, but it's great. It's this lady, her name's Genevieve Manion, which I think is a fantastic name.
I love Genevieve. That's always been one of my favorite names.
Me too. But she just has, I think she's got like 30 something episodes so far. And she just explores every kind of aspect of Victorian culture and talks about just their wonderful Gothic sensibilities. And it's kind of a little humor, but also a lot of really, really interesting information. So I highly recommend it. I think you guys should go check it out it's an escape from our present misery to go and hear about the miseries of the past.
I might actually check that out. That sounds like something I would like.
It's very interesting. It's really good. I like it. Yeah.
I can be heard on Adrenaline Cinema Podcast, Panels to Pixels Podcast, and here on What's On Tonight Podcast, my baby. As far as recommendations, Podcastica has been getting their coverage of the new season of Yellow Jackets. I don't know why I said it that way, but I'm really excited. Wendy, who was on with us earlier this season, is a part of the team that covers the show, and y'all heard how awesome she is. So the whole group, their take on the show and what happened, it's just, it's amazing. So check it out. And Still Slaying, Buffyverse podcast, is continuing their amazing coverage of Buffy and Angel. The next episode they're going to be recording is Angel, I think it's episode 5, Ring with a View, and yours truly will be guesting with Penny and Kara on that episode, so I'll let you know when it's out. I'm super excited about that. I love talking Buffy. So a big thank you, as always, to Agent Mark and Pirate Core Entertainment for giving us this platform, for all of your knowledge and the time that you give us. Please visit the Pirate Core website. You can find it on our Facebook page, and there you can find our podcast as well as other podcasts like the Slay Lounge podcast with Billy and Will. And you can also find other projects Mark is working on.
Well, that wraps up our coverage of episode 7 of The Pit. We will be back next week where we will break down episode 8 titled 2 p.m.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Human kindness goes a long way. So take a moment to smile at someone you pass on the street. Give a hand to someone who might need it. Just please be kind to yourselves and be kind to each other. I'm Scheherazade, aka Becky, aka soon to be Noah Wiley's Dr. Robbie's love interest on The Pit once they cast me.
And I am just Mandy, who is apparently going to have to bail Becky out when Noah Wiley's wife has her arrested for stalking.
There you go. We'll catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight, providing that I'm not in jail.
Oh.
Bye. Jordan.